Welcome back to the Household of Faith for Thursday, April the 18th of 2019. And today we're talking about enabling relationships. And our verse of scripture that we're going to be using as a reference is James 1:19. Now, I love the book of James. Let me tell you, it's one of my favorite books in the New Testament because he just hits the nail on the head every time, and he just doesn't stop. One of the things I really love about the teachings of James is that he has a no nonsense, no excuse acceptable approach to the lifestyle of the believer, one that we should emulate. And I agree wholeheartedly with him. And even while I have found at times it a challenge in the past to meet those standards, I do appreciate them, and I strive continuously to be the type of believer that he describes in his epistle, and from first chapter all the way through chapter 6. Now I used to be quick or hot tempered, and today it takes some doing to make me angry. It really does. And if that happens, I know that speaking and action is not the first best course of action for me. Because, as I said yesterday, I have a tendency to lean towards sarcasm. And, when you're skilled at being sarcastic, you know a lot of things about people, and you can simply tell the truth about them, and it can be as sharp as a knife. You can cut them like a razor, and that is not something from my past that I'm really proud of, and I really don't want to be that type of person again. So I work on keeping my tongue and my words under control. This scriptures really taught me, because it says, be slow to, when the other scriptures say to be slow to speak, slow to anger, and all of that, and that is so true. But it's helped me even more because it's very profound, and it just tells you exactly, where you are. And I have a good friend and mentor, chaplain Eva Wren, and she once told me that, everyone wants to be heard. And she was right. The trouble is that not only do people want to be heard, but they want to be heard and heard and heard over and over and over again, and without a resolution. In some relationships, all folks want is for you to listen to them, and that can be okay, but they don't want any advice, and that can become tedious after a while. But let me ask you, how many times are you willing to hear the same issue over and over again patiently? Just continue hearing it without commenting, letting them finish, just the same scenario over and over again, and nothing comes of it. Or they go through this, and then they go on to something else, and then they come back and the exact same thing is happening again, and you listen to it. Are you really willing to hear that again and again and again and not say anything about it? Well, I'm not. I might interrupt you after I've heard it the first time, and ask you some questions or something like that for clarity. But if the end result hasn't changed, how can you help them? It has to take a step further, so that you can listen and understand, but also at some point you do need to say something. Especially if it's the same thing over and over again, and they just want you to listen. Well, at some point I'll be like, I've heard this, or you do this, and I need to address that. Does it seem rude? Does it seem harsh? Well, maybe to some people, but I hope not. But there are times when we enable indecision and wrong decisions by not speaking up. In any relationship, honor and truth are essential components. Plain and simple. You don't need to harp on any, point once you've made it. But after all, it is their life. And you can't live it through them or for them. But the best thing that you can do in a healthy relationship is to point out some of the things that they're doing, not enable them to continue to do these things and not make any progress. That's the sign of a healthy relationship and one where you are not enabling a person to remain stuck where they are, because that's where they are. They're stuck and they need a way out. Okay?